Thank you guys. Thanks. Check. You guys hear me? Oh, there it is. I can hear me. All right. Cool. So, he kind of told you guys what happened. I've been wanting to come to Cause Talks for a while and listen to these amazing speakers and school owners. And so I showed up a couple days ago, met with Randy. I was on the same flight with him, didn't even realize. So we flew in, he waited for me. Imagine this, a bar right outside the airport. That's where I found him. We chatted for a minute, and so I got really excited to be here and all this stuff. And then last night, he goes, "Hey, you want to come down to dinner?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I'd love to, but that's the speakers only dinner." And he goes, "Well, funny story." And he sent me the agenda, and my name was on there, and I went, "Oh, I guess I'm showing up." So I don't know if you guys know Michael Bank, but I went ahead and messaged Mike, and I said, "Mike, I'm speaking tomorrow. I don't know what to talk about. Like, what am I supposed to do?" And after about 98% of really bad advice, if you know Mike, it's a terrible list of things. He said, "Speak about how you lost $250,000 last year trying to open up your third location." And I said, "Mike, that's a great subject." So I'm going to go through with you guys and hopefully all of our people online how not to open up a new location. We're just going to do all the mistakes I made, and hopefully you learned something from this, or at the very least, those of you who got multiple locations, you have a really good story out of this, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and tell you, my name is Chris Hamm. I own 3 martial arts schools north of Austin, if you guys are familiar with Fort Hood, now Fort Cavazos. That's my area. We did $1.25 million last year. Our third school that we finally got opened, more on that in a minute, obviously, but that one did... let's see, last quarter, they did $110,000 in just 1 quarter of being open, all right? And so I feel like we've got 120 students in that location as of yesterday. I feel like we're really rocking it since we opened just at the end of August, okay? But there was a lot of buildup that came to that. I got my notes. You guys don't mind, I'm gonna read off of here for a minute. So let's start with opening my second location. And I'm going to give you the problem I had there. I'm going to tell you the first thing always is get off the ladder before you try to open up your next school, right? All right, so tip number 1, get off the ladder. Story time. So one of my instructors, he's probably not going to be listening to this because he's long gone. His name was Murphy, right? So Murphy was my assistant instructor this time when I tried to open up my second school. I had his buddy in town. He said, "Come buy my school for me. I'm moving." I said, "Great. That sounds like a great idea. I'm ready to buy a school. Let's do this." So I went over to his school. I started teaching alongside him, got all of his students. He had about 100 students. I had 150 at my first location, my only location. And I told this guy, Murphy, this guy that had been teaching alongside me, I said, "Murphy, I want you to run the main location. I'm going to go over here and pick up all these students from the second place," right? Mistake, by the way, never leave the first location, go over to the second one, and leave somebody else in charge. There's a lot of mistakes here, all right? So when I left, I got those 100 students. Those 100 students of the second location were enamored. They loved me, right? That personality, the culture. Well, my wife, now ex-wife as of next week, right? So we get home and she goes, "You gotta come back." And I said, "Why?" She goes, "We're losing students. They're dropping like flies." I was like, "Why?" "Because Murphy isn't you. Murphy isn't you." I said, what do you mean?" "These students hate learning from Murphy because the culture is not the same." And I realized I didn't get off the ladder to teach Murphy to be a great instructor first. I just left him in charge. Now, how many of you guys learned the hard way back? Yeah, my instructor from when I was 16 was like, "I got to take a phone call. Class is yours." I'd never taught a class in my life. I never realized what it took to run a class. He said, "It's all yours," and he would take a phone call, didn't show up for the next hour, right? That's what I learned how to teach, and I realized we can't do that anymore. So, number 1, get off the ladder. When I'm talking about ladder, I mean you got your assistant instructors, you got your head instructors, you got your chief instructors, you got your owners. You need to get off the ladder and allow the next guy to come up underneath you and guide him up that way, or her, right? Obviously. Okay, So that was when I went to go open that second school. And by the way, that school, I had to shut it down, moved all 100 of those students in because my first school went from 150 to 90 students. I lost 60 students before I finally went, oh, this is a bad idea. All right, lesson 1. So then later on, I opened up my second school for real this time, learned my lesson, trained up leadership. And so when I got in there, the next location, I would suggest that you have your team shadow for at least 6 months. My process is a full year that I will have the person who's going to be the chief instructor for the next location. I have them sit there for a year alongside my other chief instructor to prepare them for that role. All right? So, number 2, shadow. And I do the same thing with my program directors. So each of our schools has a program director that runs the desk, administration, and has a chief instructor that runs the floor, right? So I have a new assistant run the program director position for the year alongside the current program director. And the same thing with the chief instructor for a full year. And now I'm going to back that up with a story because this was a mistake I made. All right, so this guy comes to me. He's been training in martial arts all his life. Not with me, other styles. He comes to me and says, I want to open up a school. I said, great, let's do it under my style. So I give him the opportunity, let's go open up the second location. Another guy comes to me who was in my style. He goes, hey, I want to go with him and I want to be a part of this also. So I'm like, great, let's put both of these two guys. This guy who's never been a chief instructor, he's laughing, thank you. This guy who's never been a chief instructor, and then this guy who is a black belt in another style who just walks up and says, I want to open a school under you. All right. God, the mistakes, right? So I put them in there. We open up this school, go through a 6-month build-out process, negotiate everything, put these guys in. 1 month later, the guy from another style goes, you know what? I'm out. And he leaves. On May, I know the date, May 15th, because the other guy, Micah, my guy he's been with me for 4 years. But on May 15th, this guy who came from another style dropped out. Micah, who was 22 and had never run anything in his life, he worked at a movie theater before he came to me, all right? He's now in charge of a school. And he has a parents' night out to run. He's got a new student orientation, and he has a seminar all on May 15th when the other guy dropped out, all right? Never done any of this stuff before in his life. So this is now why I tell you, you need to have them shadow. And when I say shadow, I mean every aspect of that floor. The parents' night outs, the new student orientations, the trial classes, every single part of that school. In a year, they're going to get to experience all of that, all right? So you got to have them shadow. Okay.